Hello team, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab. And today we're going to discuss about what is internal audit and how to conduct internal audit in a step-by-step manner. With the help of this video, I'm sure you can able to crack internal audit interviews and you also get a better visibility about what is internal audit. If you're new to this channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so make sure you will not miss any of my video. So let's start with the first part. So what is internal audit? So internal auditing is an independent objective assurance consulting activity which is designed to add value and improve an organization operation. This is more like a gyan. Let me give you one practical example. In every organization, we have a 3-layer of defense. First line, second line and third line. Internal audit is the third line of defense of an organization. They are the one who directly reports to the board of directors. They called as the eyes and ears of an organization. They basically audit all the processes, example, change management, data centers, IT, information security, they audit all these processes. But the audit of this process is not about just from checking the certifications and all that. No, their objective of doing the audit of this process is to identify the gaps, identify risk and proactively notify to the board. That is why they are called as an eyes and ears of an organization. When you're talking about the objective of internal audit in detail, they basically ensure the effectiveness and efficiency of an operations. They basically ensure the reliability of the financial and management reportings. They basically ensure the company is compliant with the law and regulations, and they also responsible for the safeguard of an assets. But we have a CISO, we have an information security team, we have an assurance team. Yes, these people are audit their department also to check whether they are working as per their business objectives. They are working as per the stakeholder interest. Who are the stakeholder? My internal and external. So they are more like a teacher kind of thing. So they basically check all the things what is happening in the organization, whatever happening in the organization, from a business to the IT, from the operation to the delivery, and they just ensure things are working as per the board of director perspective. So we use the audit. So first of all, audit is all about inspection. Audit is all about providing an independent opinion about things which is working in the organization. Audit is a positive aspects. Audit is basically bring the positive outcome in the organization. If someone is auditing my training and giving me feedback, by this I can able to improve my training delivery. So I will take the audit in a positive manner, and company introduce audit from that aspect only. So let me start with the first part, that what is happen in the internal audit. Okay, so first step in the internal audit is the announcement letter. But before that, let me give you the hierarchy. In the internal audit, there is a audit management. They are the one who basically plan the audits of a year, and they basically release the audits of the year to the audit teams. Now let's take an example. I work for the company called ABC. Okay, and they have a team in India. They have a process in India. So I will receive the notifications about the list of audit that we need to plan for this year. So audit committee and audit management, these are the people, these are the group of audit teams, group of audit heads. They basically plan the audit of the year. So let's take one example here, that I want to conduct an audit for one process. So we are doing an audit of the change management process, which is running in my organization. Okay, so this is the one example we have. Okay, so what is the first step in the internal audit? Before going to understand the first step, let me give you the hierarchy. Internal audit department, they are directly report to the board. Okay, so if the company called ABC Limited, they have a presence in all the countries. So one of the presence they have in India. We have a processes also in India. We need to audit that particular process. So we have an internal audit team in India for auditing the processes which is running in the India organization. So we have an audit manager, and under which we have a multiple audit teams. So audit team members are some of financial auditors, process auditors, infosec auditors, IT auditors and all that. We always receive the first mail about the internal audit schedule. So every January we receive the audit schedule for the years. Example, this year we need to conduct this audits. So we get that. So this is the process. So audit manager will basically explain us about what audits need to be done, and they allocate the respective audit to their auditors. So that is a thing. So in this video, I am taking one example of the change management process audit. So I am Prab Nair. I receive the first assignment that to audit a change management process. Okay. So in this, the first thing what I'm going to do is I will send an announcement letter. I repeat, I will send an announcement letter. If I'm not, so it depends upon organization to organization. My audit manager can also send this announcement letter. To whom? This announcement letter basically sent to the change management team head. That okay guys, we are planning to conduct an internal audit of your process. Okay, so they will send the announcement letter. But question is that in this, what is included in the announcement letter? So internal audit manager or internal auditor who's sending an announcement letter, it include about the scope of an audit and the date and time of an audit. Example, I want to start an audit from 27 January 2022. So that date will be mentioned. The name of an auditor or associate auditors who will part of this audit, and the scope of audit. Example, we're doing an audit of the change management team of India, and all the records, review and everything will be related to the change management which is managed in India itself, because for other operation we have other team. So the client is basically informed of the audit through an announcement of the engagement letter, which is coming from the internal audit director or audit manager or myself as an auditor. Okay, so as I said, it varies. So once this letter received by the auditee means the one we need to audit, they will give the acknowledgement. So the acknowledgement is basically like an assurance that yes, they are agree with this particular scope and they want to start an audit. So that is the green signal for us. So this is the first thing. So first document is announcement letter. Now based on that, we will plan the first meeting, and that meeting is called as a pre-audit meeting and interview department personnel. I repeat again, conduct pre-audit meeting and interview department. So in this case, I will schedule, me as an auditor will schedule the meeting. Okay, along with me, my manager also come. So audit manager and auditor. Make sure in one audit we need to have two auditors. Okay, me and my friend and along with my manager will basically plan a meeting with the auditing. In this, we explain about what is internal audit and what we does in the organization. In this meeting, we also try to understand the process. Definitely, if you want to find a flaw in someone process, you need to know the ABCD of that process. So we're going to understand how change management process works in their operations. In the organization, how the change management operation works. In that meeting, we also request for the policy, we request for the SOP, we request for the necessary documents which is required for this audit. So we understand the process. During an process understanding, we can also ask the questions. Example, during an audit, they said during a change management, we review the change request in 1 day and we approve the change request in 4 days. This is our escalation time. So I observe this can be a risk. So I have asked based on what factor you're basically doing this particular function. Like, okay, you have a 4 days of RTO or 4 days of timeline in which we need to close. So we have a cross questioning. Then they have asked, they said that, okay, yes, we're doing a change management based on the SOP and all that. So we will ask, is the SOP sign off from anyone? Do we have a 3-eye checks on the RFC? Is the SOD has been followed in the change management? Is the same person is approving and all that? So these kind of questions I ask, by which I'm passively observing the possible risk. I repeat, possible risk during a discussions only. Now, once I complete the meeting, very high level meeting, in that I will basically send the document. I will request some document like all applicable laws or regulations, any policy, memorandum or directive related to the change management process, a copy of the procedure manuals, organization chart, their department chart, and goals and objective. I repeat again, I had a meeting. Okay, I had a meeting, I understand the process, and now I will send in which I will ask for these documents, because I want these documents on an email. Do not collect the document on the pen drive. The reason why the collecting documents on the pen drive doesn't track the accountability. Tomorrow, if we discover any kind of finding from that document, we can raise the concern. They can say from where you got this document. So we always request all this document on an email. And for that, after having a meeting, we pen down the documentations and we request those documentations from the auditee. So this is done. Now we prepare one internal document, and the name of the document varies from organization to organization. In my organization, we call this as a audit plan memorandum. Audit plan memorandum, APM we called. Now, what is this APM is, after understanding the entire process of change management from the first meeting and review the SOP, documentations, whatever the possible risk I identified during SOP, I reviewed that there's only one person who approving, the same person is closing the ticket and same person is implementing. So this is the flaw we identify. So we will pen down the possible risk, list of risks associated with the process. In this document, we also explain the change management process, how it works. We also explain about the the audit steps. So this APM document is for the internal purpose. Okay, tomorrow if some committee want to audit our work, so they can audit based on this documentation. So that is why this document is internal to the organization. We don't share this document with the auditee. So let me explain that. The first thing in this document talk about the scope, when we starting our audit, when we going for a field work, when we basically planning to submit the report and everything. So that is a timeline. And second is basically called as a scope of audit and list of possible risks that we have identified. Okay, lack of documentation, lack of SOP, lack of SOD, no MOM. So I'm just assuming based on the documentation. Please note, I'm not sure these are the actual risks are there in the process, because from the documentation, what we have identified, we just document. So this is basically called as a APM document, audit plan memorandum. So in my absence, if someone want to review my work last year, whatever the audit I did, they can review this document. So this document give the visibility. Now the next thing what we prepare is called as a risk control matrix. From the APM, whatever the risk we identify, we'll pen down that risk. We pen down the possible control which is associated with the risk, and then the third column we pen down the steps how to conduct an audit of these controls to identify this risk. So this is called as a pre-RCM, pre-risk control matrix, and that will be my primary document based on which I will do my detailed audit. So I prepare this pre-RCM, and this pre-RCM I'm going to discuss with my another person. So we have two people in this audit, so we have a detailed discussion. We can also involve the audit manager, and by this we can able to finalize the pre-RCM. The benefit of the pre-RCM is it gives the visibility, it gives the scope that yes, within this we need to conduct an audit. It saves time also. Pre-RCM, risk control matrix. Now based on that, we start the next activity which is called as a field work. This is called as a field work. So that pre-RCM is my document. Based on that, I will do my field work. So in the field work, based on the SOP, I will start my investigation. Example, in the SOP it is mentioned, every RFC in the change management, every RFC need to have a 6 mandatory parameters that we need to review. Every RFC make sure has a 6 mandatory parameter, like security impact analysis must be covered, rollback plan should be there, concerned person name, accountability details, all these things must be there in the RFC. So what happen is we collect the sample of RFC, and in the RFC we check this parameter. So now question is that now we have a 10,000 RFC, 20,000 RFC. It is not possible for us to do the 10,000, 20,000 RFC to be reviewed by the 2 people. So we do the sampling here. CISA concept. Sampling we do. Okay, in this 10,000 we will pick 100 samples, and based on the 100 samples we present our opinion. Okay, so from the 10,000 we pick 100 sample based on the internal sampling calculation, which is called as a quantitative or statistical sampling, or my judgmental sampling. I will pick 100 samples, and from the 100, if in the 90 I identify the RFC is not as per the SOP, we flag for the finding. And during an audit, we discover some of the RFC does not cover the 6 mandatory checks to be reviewed, and even the change management team has approved that change request. They process the change request based on the inaccurate data. So that become my first finding, and I will document the finding. One more important thing. Now, it's not about, okay, checking the RFC only. In the SOP, it is clearly mentioned, RFC after the closure, we ask for the recovery plan and all that. So we also do the trail check of that. This is the one thing. Second is, we will check is the SOP is basically sign off by the concerned person. During a SOP audit, we discover SOP is not sign off. So it is basically lead to one more risk, which is called lack of governance, because tomorrow, if things are not going as per the SOP, no one is there for the accountability purpose. So that is the one thing we discover. During an audit, we discover that, okay, more than 6 people has left the organization, new people has joined the organization. So we will check the revoke access. Is the access has been revoked? Some people has moved to some other department. We will check whether their access has been revoked. So here I involve the IM also. Here I review the policies also. So it is not only limited to the only SOP kind of an audit. It is all about the entire governance of the change management process. We also check in the change management tool, is the SOD has been followed or not? Is the one person is approving? Is another person is reviewing? Is this happening? Is the change management deliverables are defined in a proper manner? Is the proper documentation has been maintained? So all these things is part of an audit. Now during an audit, if I discover something very critical which can impact the compliance and all that, example, we got an access to some kind of a PI data and all that, immediately as a due care and due diligence, a good ethics of an auditor, we need to notify the auditee. And this is a kind of an interview question also asked for the internal audit. During an audit, if you discover something very critical, what is your thing? So the best answer for this is notify immediately the auditee and parallelly document in the report. Now during an audit, sampling and all that, we could not able to conclude anything. From the sample, we cannot able to conclude anything. So in that case, we can extend the sample size and collect more and more samples. Now during an audit, we discover that some RFCs are unresolved till 4th day, 5th day and all that. So we will, instead of raising as a finding, we will first ask the exceptions. Do we have an exceptions? Do we have a business approval? And based on that, if I get, then we will not raise the finding. But we also need to review those business justification. So these are also included in this findings. So now I thoroughly document everything. I thoroughly review everything. Whatever the oral communication, document communications, I'm going to review everything. So now my field work is basically over. Now we'll come back, me and my peer, my friend, will sit together, we'll discuss all these things. We compare all the investigations, evidence and everything, because we're going to raise some concerns here. We're going to point out somewhere that you are not doing your work correctly. So we come back, we have a discussion about all these findings. We collect those samples and we basically document and we create some kind of a raw informations. Here we basically prepare the post RCM. Post RCM means from the possible risk, what are the confirmed risk we have, what is the audit step we have taken, and what is the evidence we identify for that particular control effectiveness. So this is how we basically prepare the post RCM. Now from the post RCM, we basically prepare the draft audit report. This is the turning point. In this draft audit report, we basically summarize the audit findings, okay, conclusions, my recommendations, okay, our recommendations, and we have a PRI review. It means if I am preparing a report, my friend will review that. So we have a 3i check to make sure there's not be any kind of error. And we prepare the first version of an audit report. See, in audit report, one thing is that we document the risk, and we document the risk in a form of qualitative and quantitative. Second, we give our recommendations. Okay, we need an action plan from them. So in the action plan area, we keep as a read and write option. Rest of the things are read only. So we share the first draft to my internal audit head, my manager. We have a debate, we have a discussion with them, and then after that we release the draft report. Not release, we share the draft report to my auditee because he was involved in this audit. So we need to involve them because we need their consent. We need their action plan on those findings. So this is a turning point. So when we're releasing the draft report, we understand their issues. Here is a fight. Most of the fight happen in this area. This is the turning point where you need to convince them on the finding because we need to get it done, the recommendations and all that. So we have a discussion, we understand all the issues, they have a debate, And at one particular point, if they're asking about do you have any evidence for this, we will provide the evidence also, by which we can able to justify the things and everything. This is called our working paper. Evidence is called as a working paper because working papers are the vital tool for the audit profession. They support our audit opinion. So that is basically done. Once they agree, okay, this is my action plan, we need to ask the timeline of the action plan. Suppose they give me the action plan, okay, in next February, we will close this audit. So according to that, post audit, we'll do the follow up and check whether they have closed the audit or not. So, but here, once they get a consent, we release the final report. Either it will be released by me or it will be released by my manager. Okay. So we will send also one copy to my audit management. They also thoroughly review the audit working papers. If they have any kind of a discussions, they can have a discussions. And after that, we release the final report to the change management lead, their counterpart, and everyone. We also have a monthly meetings and all that, a board of meetings in which we present our reports about the findings. So this is how the entire audit is basically happen. Now, once the audit is completed, as per the timeline, in the month of February, I will follow up with my auditee and I will basically ask, is this finding has been closed or not? So he will give me yes, finding is closed. We cannot trust like that. So we need evidence, we need a justifications, and then I will basically flag the finding off in my sheet. So internal audit is not only about what we audit, but we also have some administrative works about whatever the audit we have done. We have to do the follow-ups to make sure those findings get it closed with the proper evidence. So this is how the works. So summary of this entire session is, first document is called as an audit announcement letter, which is released by internal audit. Then the second important thing, we do the kickoff meeting where we try to, one more important thing in the engagement letter, scope is cover, list of auditors who will be the part of audit and date of audit. So this is there, and the purpose of audit. Second thing is called as a engagement session, which is called as a pre-audit plan meeting, where my manager, me and my peer will go and have a discussion. We understand everything, we understand the process. Then we send one email regarding the audit planning memorandum checklist, where we collect the documents about regulations, SOP and everything. We thoroughly review that. Then we prepare the APM. APM is internal to the organization, which include the scope, what is change management process, then possible risk and the name of an auditor. Then we prepare the risk control matrix. Risk control matrix is talk about the possible risk, the possible control and the audit steps that you're going to take to perform that particular assessment. And then we initiate the field work where we do the meetings. We understand based on the possible risks that we identify, we conclude. And then if you find something critical, notify. Then we prepare the draft report. Draft report will have a PRI. I speak to my management. I speak to my audit management, understand everything. Then I will share the first version of a report with my auditee. He will be frustrated or she will be frustrated. And then they will basically share their opinions, their action plan on the recommendations. We as an auditor, we will give the recommendation also. Like example, we discover SOP was not sign off. We request you to sign off on this. So they will provide me action plan with the timeline. Once we complete the audit, we have to do follow up on that particular finding. So once we get a green signal from the auditee about the recommendations and action plan, we submit to our audit management, they thoroughly review, and then we release a final report to my team, to our audit team, their counterpart, directors, board of directors and everything. And then in the weekly meetings, what we have, or monthly meetings, we will share about these kind of findings about the process in those functions. So role of an internal audit is a very critical, because board of director depending upon our functions, and our goal is to make sure whatever happening in the organization, it complies with the legal regulatory requirement. If you find this video useful and you want similar kind of videos to be made, please do share in a comment box. And if you're new to this channel, click on the bell icon and share with your networks. Thank you. Bye.